As butlers, we love buying things for our cats.
I haven't even opened these.
I would know. I have 4 cats in a tight apartment, and anything to make my cat's life or my life easier is a godsend. It's easy to see a product, assume it will improve your cat's life, and add it to the cart. After filtering through endless cat products for 4 cats, these are the items that sometimes consistently overpromise on the box and underdeliver in reality. Some of them are just a waste of money, and one is a gamble in terms of support and accountability. Let's start with one that can be the most controversial. Love it or hate it, everyone has to admit that the automatic litter boxes are incredibly useful, especially for busy households. I run 2 of them, and they really have increased my cats and their butlers' quality of life. 3 to 4 years back, after a lot of deliberation, I purchased my first robotic litter box. It was expensive, and at that time there were only a couple of companies producing them. Now there are a lot. So the challenge we are seeing right now is the flood of generic off-brand units in the market. They look the part and are competitively priced, which creates a lot of confusion for cat owners. The overpromise happens when you assume they have the same safety standards as the more established companies. To be clear, bringing any automated tech into your home always comes at some level of risk. The convenience is incredibly helpful when managing multiple cats, but this is still a machine that they climb inside of multiple times per day. If something does go wrong, you want a company that will take responsibility and actually fix the design so it doesn't happen to your cats or any other cats. So here's how to spot a unit that you should be cautious of. First, there's no real website outside the retail listing. Or if they do have a website, it looks like a template that they shoddily put together. Second, the only way to reach support is through the retailer's messaging system. Even if you go through a website, it'll still send you to the Amazon reseller with no direct phone line or support email. Third, you see the same device with different companies' names slapped on them. Seeing those 3 things together usually points to a disposable brand with no long-term support. There are absolutely reliable, budget-friendly automatic litter boxes from reputable companies, so you don't need to spend the maximum amount of money. For this specific product category, I just highly recommend sticking with an established brand that has a reputation to protect. So from here on, it's mostly about saving your money. And before I get into my list, I asked the community what your worst cat purchase was, and the answers lined up almost exactly with mine. At the top, battery-powered toys. Then, dedicated cat beds. And then one I put for fun, cat clothes. And we'll definitely get into a couple of those. But first, water fountains. I have something of a love-hate relationship with these things because it's been spanning a whole decade of maybe trying one and in the end not working out. And the whole selling point is that the running water gets your cats to drink more. And this is important because the research doesn't really back that up. A study back in 2010 compared fountains to a regular bowl and found no real difference in how much a cat actually drank once you accounted for evaporation and splashing. And a big review last year that pulled together decades of studies landed in the same place. And I'll put the sources to these in the description if you're curious. What actually changes a cat's water intake is their diet. Things like wet or even raw food, not whether the water is moving. So if you only care about getting more water into your cat, focus on adding more water into their food instead. And that's the part that's actually proven. That said, I do think there's a use case for a cat water fountain. A good one with a filter keeps the water cleaner and fresher for longer. And ideally, that means less daily maintenance and no refilling and constantly cleaning a bowl every day. That's the whole appeal. The problem is that the cheap, wired, plastic-only ones actually do the opposite. I've been through so many and none lasted more than a couple of months. They build up biofilm, especially on the top part that's exposed to the air, which is not only unsanitary, but it's what kills the pump early. Then you're trying to clean inside of it, maybe hunting down the right replacement pump, or dealing with a cord stretched across the floor, waiting for a Bengal cat to rip it out because he wants to know what's making noise in his water. At that point, the fountain is creating more work than the bowl it was supposed to replace. That's the reason why I just kept going back to a plain gravity reservoir all this time. A few years ago, the options out there were just really bad for cat water fountains. But I recently got back into it and found that the wireless pumpless ones are a lot better. It's a lot more sanitary, of course, with the stainless steel top part, and so far it's lasted more than 2 months, which, given my track record with the Bengal cat, I'm calling it a win. It's easier to clean, no cable to rip out, not perfect as it runs on battery that I have to charge every week and a half with 4 cats. And again, Latte hasn't been able to take it apart yet. For now though, that trade-off's worth it. It keeps the water fresher for longer and it doesn't require as much maintenance. The only part that again doesn't hold up is the promise that they'll get your cat to drink more. So if that's your only goal, you really don't need to spend the extra money on a fountain. Just add more water to their food and clean the water bowl daily. While cat fountains take up counter or floor space for a benefit that's unconfirmed, there's another category of products that eats up even more square footage while being completely ignored: dedicated cat beds. The promise is a cozy spot your cat will love. The reality for most of us is that you buy the bed and they sleep on your sofa, your bed, or the cardboard box it came in. In a small apartment, this one stings more, because a bed eats up floor space that likely you don't have a lot of, often just to be ignored. So instead of buying a bed and hoping, watch where they already like to sleep, somewhere you're fine with, and make that spot better. Maybe a softer blanket or a heated pad in winter. Reinforcing a place they already choose works far better than selling them on a new one. There's likely a reason they chose that spot in the first place. Next one, toys. And more specifically, battery-powered toys. And this was the community's number one too. Electronic toys are marketed to entertain your cats on their own, but in practice they're clunky, a bit loud, and the movement's just too predictable. So cats get bored fast, usually within 30 minutes. Kittens are the exception, as they'll just play with anything. What actually holds a cat attention is prey-like, unpredictable movement. So the only loose toys that I've kept are springs, softballs for fetch, and maybe a couple of play structures like mats and tunnels. Everything else is just an interactive wand. They're cheap, reusable, and far more engaging than any battery-powered toy that I've owned. And quickly, since a lot of you said cat clothes, butlers all know it's a bad idea, but we just wanted to try it anyway. Now we arrive at the last one, and it's the cheapest one on this list, which is the point because the issue isn't the price. It's that it doesn't do what everyone says. Baking soda for litter box odor. We've probably got all these boxes of baking soda litter deodorizers lying around. I still have like 4 or 5 of them that I haven't even touched, and I have no idea what to do with, left over from when I actually tested this. Because the promise is that baking soda neutralizes the smell. So I tested it with an air quality monitor, and it wasn't just useless, it actually made the air quality worse than doing nothing at all. As we all know, smells are more concentrated in a tighter space, so knowing what not to put in the litter box is just as important as what you do put in. The wrong additive doesn't just fail, it can actually ruin the whole point of the litter itself. I went deep on the why in another video, but the short version is that there are better, cheaper options like zeolite and others that actually target the smell. That's the real problem. With cat products, our expectations and realities are two different things. Most of the time, the simple thing wins and you can save your money. The only time when it's worth it to spend a little bit more, it's more for convenience. Because at the end of the day, your cat doesn't care what any of it costs. They care whether it works, and half the time, they take the cardboard box. And since we talked about what doesn't work for litter smell, if you want to know what actually works, I tested a handful of methods with an air quality monitor to find out what is effective. I've also put a few cat products that I'm still using to this day in the description if you want to check it out. I'll see you in the next video.